In October 2025, a Tsinghua sophomore steps into a routine health interview and disappears without a trace, while the bustling wholesale corridors of Yiwu, once packed with buyers from every corner of the globe, now stand eerily empty under the harsh fluorescent lights. Mobile cremation vans licensed for pet services quietly operate across provinces, processing up to 30 cycles a day in complete silence. This is China Undercover, where the nation's brightest young minds vanish into shadowy programs, once thriving markets collapse overnight, and an unrelenting tax system squeezes the life out of small businesses that have sustained families for generations. Let's start inside one of China's most prestigious institutions, Tsinghua University in Beijing, on the afternoon of October 15th. Li Wei, a 20-year-old sophomore majoring in computer science and a standout member of the university debate team, receives an official-looking email marked with the seal of the National Talent Development Office. The subject line reads, "Final Selection Round, National Talent Health Initiative," and the body promises a prestigious fellowship along with a generous 50,000 yuan stipend upon completion of a brief medical evaluation. Excited by the prospect, Li Wei shares the news with his roommate over lunch in the campus cafeteria. "This could be the break I've been waiting for," he says, his eyes lighting up as he imagines the doors it might open. He arrives at the on-campus medical center at exactly 3:02 p.m., scans his student ID at the reception desk, and follows a nurse down a corridor toward what he believes is a standard checkup room. The elevator descends to the B2 parking level, and that is the last confirmed sighting. His phone sends one final location ping from the underground garage before going dark. By 8 p.m., his dorm bed remains untouched, his laptop still open to an unfinished assignment. The university administration releases a brief statement the following morning. The student is on approved personal leave. When his mother arrives from Henan province the next day, clutching a small suitcase and a photo of her son, security footage conveniently ends at the elevator doors. The police file is stamped "Unknown Circumstances," and the investigation appears to stall before it even begins. This is not an isolated incident, but part of a disturbing pattern that has emerged across China's top universities. A document that surfaced on overseas platforms, purportedly a slide from an internal CCP meeting titled Donor Screening Protocol, outlines selection criteria that go far beyond simple health checks. The target pool is limited exclusively to graduates and current students from the elite 985 and 211 project institutions, with detailed metrics including height ranges of 170 to 185 centimeters, facial symmetry scores, skin elasticity ratings above 8 out of 10, and an eloquence test requiring at least 90 seconds of coherent speech under observation. A mental health questionnaire screens out any family history of depression or anxiety, and the final note emphasizes priority placement for fresh, educated candidates with minimal scarring. While authorities have not commented on the document's authenticity, online discussions explode with speculation that these are not leadership development programs, but something far more sinister. Baidu search aggregates for 2024 reveal a staggering 35,359 reported missing persons between the ages of 3 and 22, averaging 97 disappearances every single day. In Wuhan alone, university police logs show 42 unexplained student absences in the first 3 quarters of 2025, and desperate parents have formed private WeChat groups to share stories of children who attended similar health evaluations and never returned home. The trail of evidence leads to the quiet operation of mobile cremation vehicles that have been spotted with increasing frequency since early 2024. One such unit was first filmed in a wasteland in Ningbo's Fenghua district in January, a white van measuring 5.3 meters in length, 2 meters wide, and 2.47 meters high, with a total weight of 3.51 tons and no visible license plate. The side panel advertises pet cremation services, smokeless, odorless, fully licensed, and the specifications boast a capacity of up to 120 kilograms per cycle, with the ability to process an average of 30 cycles per day. At 2,000 yuan per service, the economics raise eyebrows in rural towns where most residents bury their pets in backyards rather than pay for professional disposal. Netizens have captured footage of these vans parked in remote fields, industrial zones, and even quiet residential alleys, often operating under the cover of darkness. One driver, briefly interviewed on camera before driving away, simply stated, "We go where the demand takes us." Simple arithmetic paints a chilling picture. 120 kilograms multiplied by 30 cycles equals 3,600 kilograms of material processed daily by a single unit, and the average weight of a Chinese teenager falls between 55 and 65 kilograms. These vans do not operate in isolation. In Changsha, Hunan province, during the first week of October 2025, 3 unmarked ambulances were observed parked directly in front of the second Shanghai hospital. None carried license plates, and while one displayed the words Hunan Provincial Emergency Medical Transport, there was no official hospital branding or identification number. A nurse working the night shift recorded video from her apartment balcony, narrating in a hushed voice. They arrive around 2 a.m. No lights, no sirens, just quiet efficiency. The hospital's rooftop helipad has seen increased activity since late September, following the public signing of a cooperation agreement between Shanghai 2nd and the Hunan Low Altitude Economic Development Group for air medical rescue services. The helicopter in question is equipped with full ICU capabilities, including transport ventilators, infusion pumps, and continuous monitoring systems. On the night of September 28th, it landed at 1:17 a.m. Military personnel were waiting on the tarmac, a covered stretcher was wheeled out within minutes, and the aircraft lifted off again by 1:29 a.m. Destination logs remain redacted, and hospital administrators have declined to comment beyond confirming compliance with all civil aviation regulations. Surveillance of the living begins much earlier than university age. Back in 2018, 11 middle schools in Guizhou province launched a pilot program for what were marketed as smart school uniforms. By 2025, the technology has achieved 95% market penetration within the province and has expanded to Henan, Chongqing, Hunan, Sichuan, Guangdong, and Wenzhou. Each uniform contains dual RFID chips, one embedded in the collar and another in the hem, that cost manufacturers less than 1 yuan apiece. The system logs entry and exit times at school gates, tracks cafeteria purchases, monitors frequency and duration of toilet visits, and even sounds an alert if a student nods off during class. A demonstration by a Tsinghua University business professor highlighted the potential. With sensors installed in dormitories, libraries, and even restroom stalls, parents can receive real-time notifications about every aspect of their child's day. The official narrative emphasizes campus safety and disciplinary efficiency, but many parents only discover the chips when they examine the garments under blacklight or after receiving unexpected fines for tampering. One mother in Henan posted a short video showing the glowing chip sewn into the elastic of her son's underwear, writing, "I thought I was buying fabric. I bought a tracking device." The post was removed within minutes, and the school issued a 500 yuan penalty for interfering with safety equipment. While these stories unfold in the shadows, the visible economy is experiencing a collapse that touches every street corner. Let's travel to Yiwu, the small commodity capital that once supplied 60% of the world's Christmas decorations and countless everyday items. On the evening of October 28th at 5:30 p.m., historically the peak hour for international buyers, the corridors of the International Trade City's District 1 register fewer than 200 visitors per hour. A drone flight conducted by a local vlogger captures the full extent of the emptiness. Only 12 windows glow with light across the 5 massive market blocks after sunset. Wang Li, a 42-year-old stall owner who has sold toys from the same 9-square-meter booth since 2010, walks the camera through her section. 2 years ago, you couldn't even film here because the crowd was too dense, she explains, her voice echoing off the tiled floor. Now I can lie down in the middle of the aisle and take a nap. Her October ledger tells the story in stark numbers. Daily revenue averaging 180 yuan, monthly rent of 8,000 yuan, and a new tax notice from the platform adding another 2,400 yuan in projected liability. She flips the metal shutter closed at 6 p.m. and says quietly, I raised 3 children on the profits from this little space. Now every yuan I earn goes straight to the system. Just a few kilometers away, a sprawling 10,000 square meter inventory warehouse stands as a monument to overproduction and vanishing demand. Pallets of unsold phone cases, LED string lights, Halloween masks, and plastic novelty items are stacked all the way to the ceiling, leaving narrow aisles barely wide enough for a forklift. Warehouse manager Zhao Ming guides the camera through the rows, pointing out price tags that have been slashed repeatedly, some items now offered at 65% below cost. Overseas orders have fallen 80% since the first quarter, he explains, kicking at a box that spills silicone bracelets onto the floor. We keep cutting prices, but the buyers simply aren't there. Outside the loading dock, a delivery rider leans against his electric scooter, staring at a phone screen that shows 0 pickup requests in the past 7 hours. His October earnings statement reads 1,100 yuan, down from 9,000 the previous year. I used to treat my family to meat twice a week, he says with a tired smile. Now it's instant noodles and hope. The trigger for this economic freefall landed on October 1st, when the State Administration of Taxation implemented a new regulation requiring every major e-commerce platform, Taobao, Pinduoduo, Douyin, and Meituan, to automatically submit quarterly sales data for all registered merchants directly to local tax bureaus. There is no opt-out, no grace period, and no exceptions for small operators. A prominent live streamer known as Sister Cat, who generated 1.2 billion yuan in annual revenue through beauty and fashion sales, posted a detailed breakdown on her final broadcast. Gross margin sits at 9.2% after platform fees and shipping, but the new 13% VAT calculation alone amounts to 156 million yuan in liability, pushing her operation into a projected net loss of 46.8 million yuan for the quarter. With tears in her eyes and 1.4 million concurrent viewers watching, she announced the immediate closure of her channel. I spent 10 years building this brand from nothing, she said, voice cracking. One government notice, and it's all gone. The live chat scrolled with thousands of messages. We watched you grow up with us. This is the end of an era. And simply, thank you. The pain cascades down to the smallest street-level businesses. In Chengdu's Wuhu district, a family-run noodle restaurant that has served the same recipe for 15 years posted a handwritten closure notice on its metal gate. Owner Zhang Wei, 38, sat down with a local vlogger to go over the numbers one last time. Daily sales had dwindled to 220 yuan. Ingredient costs ate up 90 yuan. Rent remained fixed at 6,000 yuan per month, and the new tax assessment on platform delivery orders added another 1,900 yuan in monthly liability. I started this shop with one wok and a dream to give my daughter a better life, he said, folding the ledger closed. 15 years of early mornings and late nights, and now every bowl I sell puts me deeper in the red. He locked the gate for the final time, the clang of metal echoing down the quiet alley. Food delivery riders, the lifeblood of urban convenience, received identical tax notices through the Meituan app. A sample payslip circulating on social media shows one rider earning 7,400 yuan over the month, but having 1,060 yuan automatically deducted for personal income tax, leaving a take-home of 6,340 yuan. A small protest gathered outside Meituan's Beijing headquarters on October 3rd, with riders holding handwritten signs reading 16 hours for taxman and Run for Rice, not revenue. The demonstration lasted exactly 14 minutes before plainclothes officers dispersed the group and confiscated phones. No official statement was released, and the riders returned to their scooters in silence. The human impact is most visible at transportation hubs. At Guangzhou South Coach Station on a sunny October afternoon, 22 extra long-distance buses have been added to accommodate what officials euphemistically call return-home traffic. Every seat is filled, and the overflow crowd waits patiently in the shade. A 29-year-old garment worker from Guangxi boards with a single duffel bag, explaining that his factory cut shifts to the point where monthly pay fell to 1,800 yuan, while dorm rent remained 2,200 yuan. "I came to the city for a better future," he says, staring out the window as the bus pulls away. "Now I'm going home with less than I started." Standing in the same queue is a fresh university graduate clutching an offer letter for a sales position. 2,000 yuan base salary, 18 days of required business travel per month, no overtime pay, and no weekends off. She had applied to 52 openings across 3 cities. "This was the best I could find," she admits with a shrug. "Better than nothing." Retail streets across the country tell parallel stories of decline. In Beijing's Sanlitun Bar district, 47 storefronts shuttered permanently in the span of a single week in late October. A once popular hot pot chain reduced portion sizes by 20% to offset rising tax liability, but kept menu prices unchanged, prompting a flood of one-star reviews complaining that the broth tastes like water now. In Shanghai, a 500-seat cinema screened a major domestic blockbuster on a Friday night to an audience of exactly 1 patron. The ticket seller, leaning on the counter, laughed softly. "We run the projector more for pride than profit these days." Corruption statistics released by the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection provide a bitter counterpoint to the economic struggle. Between January and September 2025, 90 provincial-level cadres were placed under investigation, the highest single-year figure since the 20th Party Congress, with a total of 789,000 disciplinary cases filed nationwide and 3.14 million public tip-offs received. A retired auditor speaking anonymously to overseas media summed it up. "They investigate billions in embezzlement while small shop owners close over thousands in tax." The circle completes itself. On the geopolitical stage, the timing could not be more charged. On October 29th, the APEC summit in Busan confirmed a bilateral meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and CCP General Secretary Xi Jinping, scheduled to last 3 to 4 hours. Hours before the leaders sat down, the CCP Taiwan Affairs Office issued a statement reiterating that Beijing will absolutely not renounce the use of force to achieve unification. The White House responded swiftly, with Trump posting on social media, "Taiwan is Taiwan. Nothing to discuss." State Department officials added that sovereignty issues would not be linked to trade concessions under any circumstances. Speculation swirls that Xi may attempt to leverage China's dominance in rare earth minerals as a bargaining chip, but U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has already gone on record stating that America will not trade 1 inch of democratic soil for economic favors. The broader economic indicators paint an equally sobering picture. Foxconn's massive Zhengzhou assembly plant, the world's largest iPhone production facility, posted 50,000 job openings in September, but managed to fill only 38% through recruitment drives. Birth registration data for the first quarter of 2025 shows a mere 300,000 nationwide, a staggering 96.7% drop from the previous year. Maternity wards in second-tier cities are consolidating or closing entirely, and kindergartens in a single Shandong district with a population of 120,000 shuttered 11 facilities in the past 6 months alone. This is China in 2025, where the brightest young minds walk into interviews and never walk out, where wholesale empires built over decades dissolve into empty corridors, where every sale is tracked and taxed before the profit is even realized, and where the streets that once pulsed with commerce now echo with the quiet desperation of closed shutters and departing buses. The system is not breaking. It is methodically dismantling the foundations that once supported ordinary lives. One vanished student, one shuttered stall, one cancelled order at a time. The collapse extends far beyond the coastal megacities and into the industrial heartlands that have long powered China's manufacturing miracle. In Nantong, Jiangsu province, a region renowned for its furniture and textile factories, 34 plants ceased operations completely during October 2025, with an average of 120 workers laid off per facility. One plywood mill manager posted a final payroll notice on the factory gate, explaining that relentless price wars combined with the new tax burden had erased any possibility of profitability. Workers gathered quietly outside, some holding simple cardboard signs that read, 15 years here, now a bus ticket home. The scene repeats in nearby Taizhou and Suzhou, where domestic demand has evaporated and export orders have dried up amid global caution over supply chain stability. Even the entertainment sector, once a bright spot in the economy, is feeling the chill. In Shanghai on a Friday evening, a 500-seat cinema in the Xintiandi district screened a highly anticipated domestic action film to an audience of exactly one solitary viewer. The ticket seller, resting her elbows on the empty concession counter, laughed softly when asked about business. We keep the projector running more for pride than for profit these days. Sometimes the staff outnumber the customers. Industry reports confirm that third-quarter domestic box office revenue fell 68% year-on-year, with many mid-tier production companies quietly dissolving partnerships and laying off entire creative teams. Luxury hospitality has been forced into undignified survival strategies. In Guangzhou, a 5-star international chain hotel set up a humble skewer stall on the sidewalk directly in front of its marble entrance, with the executive chef personally manning the grill. A hand-painted sign advertised, same Michelin-trained flavor, 1/10 the price, and office workers lined up during lunch hour for 15 yuan chicken skewers that would have cost 150 yuan inside the restaurant. The general manager explained the move with a weary smile. Our ballroom has been empty for months. The grill at least covers the electricity bill. Consumer sentiment has hit rock-bottom levels that are difficult to quantify in official surveys. At a Beijing gas station on a weekday afternoon, the driver of a silver Audi A6, hardly a budget vehicle, asked the attendant if any discounts were available. Informed that prices were fixed, he replied, "Then just 50 yuan worth, please. I'll come back tomorrow for the rest." The attendant, pumping the fuel, shook his head in sympathy. Even the A6 owners are counting every 10 yuan now. Netizens shared the clip widely, with comments ranging from, "Welcome to the new normal," to, "When luxury drivers pinch pennies, you know the economy is hurting." The platform economy, once hailed as the future of retail, is undergoing a brutal restructuring. A Pinduoduo merchant who achieved 800 million yuan in annual revenue through group buying electronics posted a detailed closure plan on October 27th. After factoring in the new 13% VAT on every transaction, the projected tax liability for the fourth quarter alone reached 104 million yuan, exceeding last year's entire profit of 72 million yuan. Rather than face insolvency, the owner began liquidating inventory at 30% below cost, flooding secondary markets with discounted goods and further depressing prices for remaining operators. Cross-border platforms like Shein and Temu have reported similar pressures, with suppliers in Guangzhou receiving VAT invoices on exports that were previously exempt, erasing already razor-thin margins of 3 to 5%. Migrant workers, the backbone of urban construction and manufacturing, are voting with their feet. At Chongqing North Railway Station, 28 additional high-speed trains were scheduled throughout October to accommodate return travel to Sichuan, Guizhou, and Yunnan provinces. Every carriage departed at capacity, and ticket scalpers who once profited from holiday rushes now stood idle. A mother traveling with two young children explained that kindergarten spots in the city had vanished along with factory overtime, leaving no viable path forward. "We came for opportunity," she said, adjusting her daughter's backpack. "We're going home with lessons learned." The education sector is grappling with its own cascade of consequences. A job fair held in Shenzhen in mid-October featured 180 company booths, but attracted 14,000 fresh graduates, creating scenes of long queues and desperate negotiations. The average offer hovered around 3,200 yuan per month, with a standard 996 work schedule, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. One recruiter for a logistics firm admitted privately that starting salaries had been reduced by 15% from the previous year, yet applicant numbers continued to surge. "We could fill the positions 10 times over," he said, "but no one wants the terms." Real estate secondary markets remain frozen in a state of suspended animation. In Tianjin, a 119 square meter apartment first listed in June 2018 at 1.92 million yuan has undergone 47 price reductions over 2,658 consecutive days on the market, currently sitting at 890,000 yuan with 0 inquiries in the past month. The owner's latest message to the agent reads, "I have already removed my own head to reach this price. Still no one looks." Similar stories play out in Huizhou, where an 88 square meter unit sold new for nearly 2 million yuan in 2018 is now offered at 310,000 yuan, with the seller posting publicly, "Take the keys for free. I only want the debt to stop." The CCP has responded with increasingly granular financial controls. On October 30th, new regulations took effect, requiring photo ID and real name registration for any gold purchase exceeding 5 grams, while annual overseas transfer limits were capped at 10,000 USD per person. Cryptocurrency exchanges began blocking mainland IP addresses, and real estate transactions now require a stability assessment from local authorities before proceeding. These measures have done little to stem capital flight, as wealthy families liquidate domestic assets at steep discounts to move funds abroad through informal hawala networks or simple cash-filled suitcases. Official statistics continue to diverge dramatically from on-the-ground reality. Residential nighttime electricity load data from the Shanghai power grid aligns with approximately 10 million active households, not the 25 million claimed in census figures. National salt consumption metrics suggest a population closer to 800 million rather than the official 1.4 billion. A leaked internal household registration database from Shanghai in 2022 listed only 10.1 million entries, fueling underground debates about where the missing hundreds of millions have gone. International reactions remain cautious but pointed. Following the Trump-Xi meeting in Busan, the U.S. president posted a brief summary. Talked trade. Taiwan untouched. The European Union Trade Commissioner issued a statement closely monitoring rare earth export flows in light of potential weaponization. The human stories behind the numbers are the most heartbreaking. In Chengdu, a food delivery rider added a 68 yuan dinner order to his cart, applied every available coupon, and watched the total drop to 42 yuan, only to cancel the checkout at the last second. "I wanted to treat myself after a long week," he wrote in the app notes. Ended up choosing plain rice instead. In Yiwu, a stall owner facing mountains of unsold Christmas lights dragged a box to the back alley and set it ablaze for warmth, filming the flames with the caption, "Better ashes than debt." In Guangzhou, a recent graduate signed a contract for 2,800 yuan per month that included a clause mandating stationary standing posture, no chair provided. She initialed every page and whispered to the recruiter, "Better standing than sleeping on the street." The economy is not experiencing a dramatic crash with flashing red lights and sirens. It is quietly evaporating. One small business closure, one canceled order, one departing migrant at a time. Taxes are collected on revenue that no longer exists. Markets that once overflowed with opportunity now serve as museums of what used to be. Trains run full in only one direction, toward home villages that offer familiarity, if not prosperity. This is China in 2025, where the stall you opened with savings from a decade of overtime now funds the very system that forced you to close it, where the tax notice arrives before the customer ever does, and where the future is measured not in growth, but in the steady accumulation of empty storefronts and unanswered job applications. Can you imagine this? In China today, there are critically ill patients who, after exhausting their health insurance quota, are forced to leave the hospital and transfer to another facility 4 times in a single month. A hospital, which ought to be a place for saving lives, now operates like a ledger management office, where line items in a report seem to outweigh a human heartbeat. Doctors, who should be wholly devoted to preserving life, have to calculate every coin and every cap on what a patient is still allowed to spend. In the same country, graduates from research institutes and reputable universities are riding motorbikes through rain and traffic, racing against time to deliver orders so they can scrape together a few hundred yuan for rent. One engineering graduate has been sideswiped by cars twice, simply because he had to meet delivery deadlines. A young man who studied film overseas ended up as a food courier, wearing himself down in storms and cold. In Beijing, the CBD that once blazed with lights and echoed with office footsteps now lies dark. Entire buildings sit empty, front desks coated in dust, corridors haunted by the wind. What once symbolized prosperity has turned into a cemetery of economic confidence. This is not a novel, nor an exaggeration. This is China right now. Youth and the hostel bed that costs almost nothing. A woman who runs a youth hostel says that lately most of her guests are freshly graduated but unemployed. 20 to 30 yuan a night. Many choose a hostel simply because there is no other choice. 3 students once came to the city for summer jobs. Their families prepaid 20 days lodging. 2 gave up and went home. The 3rd stayed till month's end and still couldn't find work. Every day, some leave at dawn, clutching stacks of resumes. Others lie in bed playing games, sleeping to forget reality. It's not that they don't want change. The opportunities no longer exist. The hostel owner sighs. I feel so sorry for them. Honestly, kids from ordinary families today almost have no future. A simple calculation. 20 yuan for a bed, 30 for food, at least 50 yuan a day just to exist. With the income from stopgap jobs, they strain merely to survive. One youngster even asked, "Is it free to stay here?" A question that makes the heart clench. A bachelor's degree and a security guard's post. These stories aren't rare. Feng Xiaoliang, who recently emigrated to the US, says that back home, many college graduates deliver food, work as guards, or man supermarket counters. His cousin, a computer science graduate, ended up as a supermarket clerk in a 3rd-tier city. He earns 3,000 to 4,000 yuan a month. After rent and transport, there's barely enough to eat, with nothing left to save. Now, in his 30s, with a low income and a job that carries little prestige, he can't even find a partner. This isn't an exception anymore. It reflects a wider reality. A university diploma no longer secures a future. Even pharmacy, long considered stable, is faltering. A civil engineer recounts how his wife, a licensed pharmacist, kept her job only thanks to her credential. Interns, by contrast, are exploited. 6 months for 1,800 yuan. 8 people sardined into one apartment, meals not included. After becoming full-time, they top out at 2,500 yuan. Meanwhile, drugstore chains shutter en masse, and many pharmacy grads are pushed out before they've even begun. When dreams are ground down by reality. Consider Mr. Wang, a graduate of the Los Angeles Film School who once dreamed of directing. He worked at film studios and game companies until he was laid off again and again. With no alternative, he switched to delivery work. "It isn't my failure," he says quietly. "It's this era's failure." The job is perilous. Miss a deadline and you're fined. So riders blow red lights to make the timer. Cars have nearly hit him more than once. Bikes break down. Rain doesn't grant a reprieve. If you push hard, you might earn 200 yuan in a day, but after costs, very little remains. A friend of his, born in 1994, took out high-interest loans to rent a flat and buy a phone, clinging to the hope of finding a city job. When he finally did, wages were lower than expected, hours longer, weekends gone, and the debt snowballed. His retired parents trudged back to the factory floor to repay the loan for their son. In Wuhan, a young man majored in automotive engineering. He even earned a research degree at Huazhong University of Science and Technology. Years later, still jobless, he too began delivering food. He now wonders aloud, what is the point of studying? These young people have not failed for lack of effort. They are casualties of a system that offers no openings. Empty offices, a symptom of a sick age. If youth unemployment is a personal tragedy, the spectacle of deserted office towers is the sign of a wider disease. In Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, the priciest cities, office vacancy has risen above 30%. In some new districts, it reaches 40%. That means 4 out of every 10 floors are dark. Cafes that once overflowed, office lights that once burned all night. Now there is only a hush, a chill, a sense of a ghost city within the city. The causes stack up. Tech giants slashing headcount and floors, foreign firms retreating amid policy uncertainty and geopolitical risk, startups folding en masse from broken funding chains and weak consumption. Worse still, the next 3 years will add over 50 million square meters of new office space. A glut is unavoidable. Landlords cut rents by up to 40% and still can't find tenants. This is more than a property downturn. It is the sign that the urban pulse is faltering. Hospitals, where calculations trump care. The crisis is starker in healthcare. A diagnosis-related payment regime pushes patients out once they hit the insurance ceiling, even if they aren't well. Some are forced to switch hospitals 4 times in a month. Take Ms. Zhao in Nantong, Jiangsu. Her father, left in a vegetative state by complications, later developed a lung abscess. Long-term treatment was essential, but once the insurance cap was exceeded, the hospital told them to leave. The family resorted to paper discharges and immediate readmissions just to keep the bed. In Anhui, Ms. Chen's father has a primitive neuroectodermal tumor that triggered severe pneumonia. Since April, they've cycled through 4 hospitals, moving roughly every 10 days. Each diagnosis has an 8,000 yuan cap. Beyond that, hospitals fear penalties and refuse to continue care. Every new admission repeats the tests from scratch. Time wasted, risk increased, hope eroded. A Beijing clinician is blunt. Some cases need 2 surgeries, but doing both at once would blow the cap, so we split it into 2 admissions. Absurd, yes, but it has become a rule of thumb. Professor Wang Yue, a medical ethicist, warns, When financial targets overrule medical judgment, when doctors strategize to avoid fines instead of saving lives, the system has flipped upside down. A society losing faith. From young people sleeping in bare-bones hostels to office towers gone silent. From pharmacies closing to critical patients shoved out the door, these are not isolated glitches. They are facets of a systemic breakdown. The young surrender their dreams. Those in midlife are crushed by debt. The elderly are abandoned by insurance caps and paperwork. In a society where the young dare not dream, where business districts become graveyards, and hospitals function as billing stations, how far can collapse be? This is Undercover. We tell the story without varnish. Thank you for listening and thinking. Share this. Keep the flame of truth alive, so that even in the dark, a small light remains. In October 2025, a Beijing couple presses a screwdriver against their apartment's load-bearing pillar, and it collapses into a cascade of sand. A Zhengzhou woman steps onto her 22nd floor balcony at 3 a.m., her 1.1 million yuan debt too heavy to bear. Nationwide, first quarter births drop to 300,000, leaving maternity wards silent. This is China Undercover, where homes betray their owners, debts swallow lives, and tomorrow's children never arrive. Let's enter the apartment in Beijing's Chaoyang district. The couple, both in their 30s, had pooled every overtime hour and parental loan to secure 119 square meters at 6,051 yuan per square meter in 2020. They pictured birthday parties in the living room, their toddler racing down the hallway. But one evening, the husband noticed a hairline crack in the load-bearing pillar. He fetched a screwdriver from the toolbox. The tip sank in like butter. Concrete crumbled away in chunks, revealing a hollow core. No rebar, no aggregate, just compacted sand and a thin plaster shell. The wife filmed on her phone, voice shaking. "We sold our youth for this. Now it's nothing." The video exploded on Douyin, racking up millions of views. Comments poured in. "My complex is the same, sleeping on a time bomb." Developer said century-grade steel frame. Where is the steel? 3 blocks north, another family battles a different betrayal. In a 90-square-meter unit bought the same year, the ceiling has become a leaky sieve. The owner, a schoolteacher named Liu, has patched 78 separate spots with mortar over 6 months. Each repair lasts days before water seeps through again, staining textbooks and soaking the child's crib. The sales brochure, still pinned to the fridge, boasts imported German waterproof membrane. Liu shows the camera the yellowed pages. "They sold us a dream. We got a colander." The despair deepens in Zhengzhou's plain new district. A 42-year-old accountant purchased a 3 million yuan standalone villa in 2021, taking a 2.1 million yuan mortgage with monthly repayments of 13,000 yuan. She imagined weekend barbecues in the garden, her aging parents retiring nearby. But identical villas now list at 900,000 yuan. The math is merciless. Selling covers less than half the loan, leaving 1.1 million yuan unpaid. Bank calls come nightly. Her husband stopped speaking weeks ago. On October 25th at 3 a.m., she wrote a note, "The house won," and climbed the balcony rail. The fall took seconds. Police taped off the site by dawn. The bank's SMS arrived at 9:15 a.m. Payment overdue. Please remit immediately. Shenzhen's cramped studios tell parallel tragedies. A 28-year-old graphic designer and her engineer husband bought a 48-square-meter unit in 2019. Down payment, 370,000 yuan, scraped from wedding gifts and bonuses. Loan, 860,000 yuan at 5.87% interest. They skipped vacations, ate instant noodles, dreamed of a crib in the corner. The market plunged. Resale value below the balance. The husband left 6 months ago, unable to face the interest statements. She now pays over 10,000 yuan monthly alone while freelancing from the sofa. New clothes? None in 5 years. She holds up her first pair of pajamas to the camera, purchased last month on sale. I'm 30. This is luxury. The child sleeps beside her on the floor, unaware the walls are closing in. Tianjin's secondary listings read like autopsy reports. One 119-square-meter apartment entered the market on June 24, 2018, at 1.92 million yuan. It peaked at 1.98 million in a brief bubble. Then the cuts began. 8,000 yuan, 20,000. 80,000, 47 adjustments, over 2,657 days. Current price, 890,000 yuan. The owners chat with the agent. I have already cut off my own head to reach this. Still, no one looks. Each revision notification arrives like another funeral. Huizhou pushes surrender to its logical end. An 88-square-meter unit, sold new in 2018 for nearly 2 million yuan, now carries a 310,000 yuan tag. The owner, a former factory manager laid off in the downturn, posts on Weibo, "Keys are yours. Take the apartment. I only want the debt to die." His spreadsheet, 720,000 yuan down, 1.14 million owed, 400,000 already paid. I bought 2 homes, one for my family, one for the bank. The post garners 50,000 shares, 0 serious inquiries. Rural Henan offers a slower, more haunting collapse. A village that bustled with 5,000 souls in 2010 now shelters exactly 1. The last resident, 78-year-old Uncle Zhang, films his nightly patrol with a trembling phone. He passes courtyard after courtyard, doors ajar, windows shattered, laundry lines sagging with faded clothes no one will claim. He counts lights after sunset. 0. My neighbors left for cities that promised jobs, he says. The cities sent them back broke. Now even I am packing. The wind whistles through empty alleys. Nationwide data delivers the final blow. First quarter 2025 births, 300,000, down from 9 million the previous year, a 96.7% plunge. Obstetric wards in second-tier cities merge or shutter. Kindergartens post 4 lease signs over playgrounds where laughter once echoed. In Guangdong, a middle school dormitory became ground zero for unexplained loss. On September 18th, 14-year-old Pan Yunan entered room 404 at 2:30 p.m. Surveillance coverage ends at the corridor bend. He never emerged. His bed remains neatly made, school bag untouched, shoes missing. Campus lockdowns, neighborhood sweeps, railway station checks, nothing. The mother's daily visits to the police station yield the same line: case active. The human toll is measurable in square meters of sand, in yuan of vanished equity, in cribs that stay empty. But the system enforces its own logic. Henan's Yingtian street night market, once the province's largest open-air economy, was ordered shuttered for 100 days in July under an official air pollution prevention directive. By October 27th, most vendors had complied, their stalls padlocked, dreams on hold. At 2 a.m., one owner, desperate for a single night's income, flipped on a string of LED bulbs. City enforcement vans arrived within minutes. The first officer swung a baton at the vendor's head. Blood sprayed across plastic tables. Other stall owners surged forward, mothers, grandfathers, teenagers, armed with stools and metal poles. The clash lasted 20 minutes. Phones captured every blow, every scream. By dawn, the pavement glistened dark. Ambulances carried away at least 7 injured. No official count exists. The market remains sealed behind yellow tape. Its future listed as pending review. In Wuxi, Jiangsu, rights defender Shen Aibin walked into Dongting police station on October 27th to collect a formal summons for a friend's case. Station logs timestamp his entry at 14:07. At 14:12, he was dragged out unconscious, face a mask of blood, left eye swollen shut. Paramedics rushed him to intensive care with multiple facial fractures. The police report, 1 paragraph long. Subject resisted lawful orders during document processing. No body cam footage released. Hebei's Sandu City woke to silence on October 27th. Public buses, usually 60 vehicles strong, remained parked in the depot. Drivers, unpaid for 7 consecutive months, formed a human chain across the gates. Banners read, "No wages, no wheels." Commuters waited at stops that never filled. By 11 a.m., management promised expedited review. The picket dissolved. Buses rolled out at noon, drivers still empty-handed. The pattern is not coincidence. It is architecture. Walls built with sand instead of cement. Loans structured to outlive incomes. Births engineered into extinction by cost and fear. Enforcement calibrated to crush resistance before it spreads. China in 2025, where the roof you mortgaged your life for may cave in tomorrow, and the streets outside grow quieter with every passing night. The emptiness spreads beyond individual homes into entire districts. Take Huizhou's Diejia Garden, a 2018 development marketed as coastal luxury living. Phase 1 sold out at 20,000 yuan per square meter. Phase 2 launched amid fanfare. Today, a nighttime drone survey reveals the truth. Of 12 high-rise towers, fewer than 10 windows glow per building. Ground floor shops, once destined for cafes and pharmacies, stand boarded, weeds pushing through concrete. A security guard, paid 3,000 yuan monthly to patrol ghosts, says, "I walk 15 kilometers nightly. I see more stray dogs than people." Zhengzhou's Plains New District, the same area where the villa owner jumped, was planned for 500,000 residents by 2025. Current occupancy estimates hover below 80,000. Streetlights illuminate vacant boulevards designed for rush hour traffic. Billboards still promise city of the future. The future arrived empty. Shanghai's satellite towns tell the same story on a grander scale. Songjiang New City, built for 1 million, registers nightly electricity usage equivalent to a mid-sized county seat. Metro Line 9 extensions terminate at stations where tumbleweeds would roll if wind reached the platforms. A viral video shows a delivery rider cycling 20 minutes through the district without passing another soul. Caption: I ordered milk tea to a ghost town. It arrived cold. The human exodus fuels a secondary crisis. Labor shortages in the very factories that once lured migrants. Foxconn's Zhengzhou plant, world's largest iPhone assembler, posted 50,000 openings in September 2025. Recruitment buses returned half full. Workers cite 4,000 yuan monthly wages against 3,000 yuan dormitory rents. One recruit, 19, explains, "My village home is gone. The city pays survival money. Survival is not life." Birth collapse accelerates the spiral. Official data admits 300,000 first-quarter births, but hospital insiders leak lower figures. A Nanjing obstetrician, speaking anonymously, reports, "We delivered 40 babies in March. Last year, 400. The nursery echoes. We merged 3 wards into 1. Kindergartens post-closure notices faster than enrollment forms. In Shandong, a district with 120,000 residents shuttered 11 preschools in 6 months. The missing children phenomenon adds darker layers. Beyond Pan Yunan's dormitory vanishing, reports surface of entire rural classrooms emptying overnight. A Hebei primary school with 180 students in 2024 enrolled 42 this fall. Teachers whisper of parents pulling kids for family reasons that sound like coded flight. Online forums track patterns. Healthy teens, ages 12 to 16, disappearing from boarding schools. Common denominator: no ransom demands, no bodies, no traces. Organ harvesting rumors, long dismissed as conspiracy, gain traction through leaked transplant data. A Guangzhou hospital's 2025 quarterly report, accidentally posted then deleted, shows 1,200 pediatric organ arrivals against 180 declared child deaths. The discrepancy triggers Weibo storms before censors intervene. A former procurement nurse, now in exile, claims, "We received donations from unidentified sources, ages 10 to 15, always fresh." Population truth emerges in salt and electricity. Japan's National Institute of Population Studies, China's 2024 salt consumption, enough for 800 million people, not 1.4 billion. Shanghai Power Grid's residential nighttime load matches 10 million households, not the 25 million claimed. Leaked 2022. Shanghai Household Registration Database, 10.1 million entries. The gap fuels underground debate. Where did 600 million go? Economic rot feeds the flight. Capital outflows hit records. Safe haven assets, overseas property, gold, USD, drain domestic liquidity. A Beijing wealth manager reports, clients liquidate apartments at 60% loss to wire funds abroad. They say, better poor in Canada than trapped in China. The system responds with tighter controls. New rules cap overseas transfers at 10,000 USD per person annually. Gold shops require ID for purchases over 5 grams. Real estate transactions freeze without stability assessment. Yet the hemorrhage continues through crypto, hawala, and suitcases. Ghost cities become staging grounds for something else. Satellite imagery shows new fencing around abandoned districts. Night vision footage reveals convoys entering compounds marketed as logistics parks. Locals report hearing generators and seeing refrigerated trucks. No official purpose declared. A pattern crystallizes. Structural tofu-dreg, financial handcuffs, demographic implosion, enforcement terror, capital flight, and unexplained disappearances. The pieces interlock. A wall collapses because corners were cut to service debt. A mother jumps because the home's value vanished. A village dies because youth fled factories that pay survival wages. A child vanishes because systems built on lies require fresh inputs to sustain the facade. This is China in 2025, where the concrete beneath your feet is sand, the loan on your back is eternal, the crib in your nursery stays empty, and the streets outside fall silent one light at a time. The collapse is not coming. It is already here, measured in dust, debt, and absence. The absurd reality of contemporary China. From weddings to workplaces, a system of deception. In the intricate tapestry of contemporary Chinese society, where the glittering facade of prosperity often masks cracks of distrust and absurdity, recent events have peeled away the surface to reveal unsettling truths. Stories that at first appear trivial: a fraudulent wedding banquet, steamed buns stripped of heritage, school uniforms echoing luxury brands, or even mosquito campaigns enforced with military precision, collectively unveil a systemic paradox. They show how deception, performance, and pretense have become woven into the everyday lives of ordinary citizens. This is not a collection of isolated anecdotes, but an exposé of a society where absurdity is normalized, where people's trust is continuously exploited, and where institutions, instead of serving, often betray the very individuals they claim to protect. A wedding banquet of deception, when joy meets betrayal. Consider a Shanghai couple who recently spent nearly 380,000 yuan on their wedding banquet, about 8,088 yuan per table. They had selected a prestigious hotel, one that promised the finest cuisine freshly prepared on site. Every assurance was given: no frozen imports, no shortcuts, only genuine, luxurious dishes to match the once-in-a-lifetime occasion. But reality quickly betrayed expectation. Guests whispered in discomfort as shrimp arrived chilled, chicken bled an unnatural residue, and scallop shells sat hollow. The groom, suspicious, stormed into the kitchen. What he found was not chefs crafting delicacies, but workers handling plastic-sealed imports: German-style pork knuckles, frozen shrimp, pre-cooked puddings stacked in cartons. A day meant to symbolize prosperity turned into a chilling revelation of dishonesty. The aftermath was just as damning. When the groom exposed the truth online, the hotel did not apologize. Instead, it threatened with legal letters, accusing him of defamation. Netizens responded with fury, mocking the lawyer's letter itself as another pre-packaged product. The outrage underscored a deeper societal frustration. People can accept convenience if disclosed, but they cannot tolerate lies sold at luxury prices. To pay thousands for authenticity and receive factory-made meals is, in essence, a counterfeit of life's milestones. Couples began canceling contracts, retreating to rustic village banquets where authenticity, slaughtered poultry, fresh seafood, and open-air cooking restored a sense of sincerity long lost in the metropolis. This story is not just about food. It is a mirror of modern China's service industry, shiny on the outside, hollow within. The deception corrodes trust, and without trust, no amount of decoration can mask the rot. The decline of Tianjin's steamed bun legacy. The story of Tianjin's century-old steamed buns runs parallel. Once a culinary icon, beloved for thin skins, juicy fillings, and affordable delight, it has deteriorated into a hollow brand. Tourists once queued for hours. Now, outlets stand nearly deserted. The buns that once cost mere cents now sell for 20 yuan apiece, stripped of accessibility. The attempt to rebrand as a premium dining experience has backfired. Longtime customers abandoned, young consumers unimpressed. Even worse, reports of quality decline abound: thicker skins, meager fillings, and frozen shortcuts replacing the old mastery. Hospitality, once warm, has eroded into indifference. Some incidents even escalated into police disputes. Locals mourn not just the loss of taste, but the loss of soul. It was not outsiders who killed the brand, but its own neglect, pursuing prestige over sincerity, image over substance. The lesson here echoes that of the wedding banquet. Authenticity is irreplaceable. Once eroded, heritage collapses, not with a bang but with a whimper, leaving behind empty shops and bitter nostalgia. Mosquitoes, dynamic zero, and the theater of governance. In Guangdong, a mosquito eradication campaign during a chikungunya outbreak laid bare another absurdity: governance by performance. Officials declared a goal of achieving dynamic zero mosquito cases by month's end. The slogan instantly evoked memories of the suffocating COVID-19 lockdowns. Emergency teams stormed neighborhoods, spraying fumigation, cutting trees, demolishing structures deemed breeding grounds, even banning pets for fear of water bowls. Residents were forced to surrender keys for inspectors to enter homes. Why such extreme measures for a relatively mild disease? The answer lay not in health, but politics. Jiangmen City was set to host the national games weeks later. Inspections loomed, and appearances mattered more than residents' comfort. When cases declined, officials boasted of victory. Yet soon after, a new directive warned against overzealous enforcement, revealing the cycle: first crackdown, then correction, but never structural reform. Citizens have grown weary of such governance. It is not about solving problems, but staging victories, performances for superiors, not solutions for the people. Mosquitoes became props in a political theater, and residents became unwilling actors. Employment games. The radish pit phenomenon. Absurdity also permeates the labor market. In Jumadian, Henan, a public sector job notice shocked applicants. Diploma holders could apply freely, but undergraduates were restricted to 10 majors and postgraduates to only 4 categories. Instead of rewarding higher education, the system penalized it. Netizens exploded with indignation, accusing the notice of radish pit recruitment, positions tailored for pre-selected insiders. Analysts suggested broad criteria for diploma holders created an illusion of fairness, while narrow filters for advanced degrees eliminated competition from strong candidates. Authorities defended it as job-specific, but few believed the excuse. The practice reflects a nationwide malaise. From gender restrictions to age ceilings, opaque job postings fuel cynicism and erode trust. For students already burdened by exams and debt, such manipulation signals a grim truth. Meritocracy is a myth, and opportunity often depends not on ability, but on connections. School uniforms as luxury fashion. Humor with a dark undertone. From food, we shift to fashion. School uniforms, of all things. In Changsha, Hunan, students discovered their plain 86 yuan uniforms bore uncanny resemblance to a 16,000 yuan Louis Vuitton jacket. Side-by-side images went viral. The same colors, patterns, and collars. Alumni laughed that they had unknowingly discarded luxury heirlooms. Similar cases soon emerged. Guangxi school jackets mimicking a 69,000 yuan LV baseball coat, others echoing Ralph Lauren designs. The phenomenon sparked humor but also reflection. It revealed that elegance need not cost thousands. When colors and cuts align, even budget apparel can exude sophistication. But beneath the laughter lies an unspoken truth. Chinese youth, pressured by appearances and societal competition, are trapped in a system where even accidental coincidences are reframed through the lens of status. It also highlights a paradox. While children unknowingly wear luxury knockoffs, they simultaneously face relentless academic burdens so severe that the Ministry of Education issued 10 directives to safeguard mental health. No more ranking students, mandatory 2 hours of exercise, limits on homework, and bans on early classes. Officials framed it as urgent, children collapsing under the weight of endless pressure, sleeplessness, and anxiety. Yet implementation is fraught. Parents still push midnight study, schools still prioritize test scores over health, and tutoring centers quietly bypass bans. The core disease, an obsession with high-stakes exams, remains untouched. As one netizen remarked, children don't lack sleep because they don't want to sleep. They lack sleep because the system forbids it. The uniforms may parody luxury, but the reality is youth are paying the price of systemic absurdity. A society of normalized absurdity. When pieced together, these stories paint a stark mosaic. A wedding banquet turned fraud, heritage foods hollowed by greed, children dressed in accidental luxury while crushed by study, mosquito campaigns waged like wars, and job markets rigged like games. Each vignette might be dismissed as isolated, but together they reveal a systemic normalization of absurdity. Trust is eroded, consumers betrayed by hotels, diners disillusioned by heritage brands. Heritage is commodified, culinary icons sacrificed for prestige, traditions replaced with packaging. Youth are suffocated, burdened by exams, disguised by uniforms that mock fashion hierarchies. Governance becomes theater. Campaigns fought for optics, not outcomes. Opportunity is manipulated. Recruitment turned into favoritism, crushing aspirations. In this landscape, absurdity is not accidental. It is systemic. It is baked into the logic of profit, power, and pretense. Citizens respond with humor, sarcasm, and online outrage, but the underlying wounds deepen. Searching for authenticity in an age of illusion. What do these stories tell us? That in today's China, authenticity has become the rarest commodity. Whether in food, education, governance, or employment, people yearn for sincerity. Meals that are what they claim, schools that nurture instead of crush, governance that serves instead of performs, jobs that reward merit instead of connections. The rebellion against absurdity lies in this pursuit of authenticity, however small. Couples retreat to rural banquets, locals abandon overpriced buns for street food, students laugh at uniforms that parody luxury, citizens expose excesses of mosquito campaigns, and applicants demand transparency in jobs. These acts are fragments of resistance, signals of a deeper hunger for truth. In the end, the paradox of China today is that, while skyscrapers rise and statistics boast, ordinary lives reveal a different reality, a society adrift between spectacle and sincerity. And until authenticity reclaims its place, the absurd will continue to masquerade as normal.